It's time to high five and fist bump. A Jiu Jitsu podcast for the everyday grappler. Let's talk subs. Let's talk positions. Let's talk dominating the mat. Welcome to the Let's Talk Jiu Jitsu podcast with Raymond Terrence.
Hi guys.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Good. Oh, I know who's going to be talking the entire podcast. It's going to be Alex.
Sure.
Good. Well, thanks for coming in. So I have Gabriela, I have Richard, I have Alex, and I have the Bongo Man.
Dan.
Who goes as the Bongo Man. So you guys are a jiu-jitsu family that train at Brazilian Top Team. So thanks for coming in. I wanted you guys to come in because I've been getting harassed by Professor Mark almost daily. Sends me messages, sends me videos, and keeps telling me, you got to have this family on. They're super interesting. They all do jiu-jitsu. They have cool stories. They train at home. They like modified their living room and it turned into a training room and blah, 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 or whatever. He sent me a bunch of messages. So I wanted to have you guys in so we could talk about it. And because you guys are competing this weekend, you're both white belts and it's going to be your first competition. So I'm kind of curious to know how you guys are feeling and all that fun stuff. So maybe Gabriela, you could start. Maybe tell everybody how you got into jiu-jitsu or how all of you got into jiu-jitsu to start off with.
Well, Alexandra came one day to me and said, I want to do a martial arts.
Karate.
And I said, well, what do you want? And she just came out, well, I want to do karate or something like the other kids in the class. And I went to Richard and I said, I have no clue about this. Can you figure it out what we have to find? Because what I can do is just make phone calls and see the prices and that's it. But the rest I don't know. So he went to search and he has to talk about it because he has a long story about this.
So there are two sides of this. Is on one hand, why Jiu-Jitsu? And why Jiu-Jitsu is because I was listening to the Jocko podcast.
Okay.
You probably heard of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and your audience probably heard of it too.
His jiu-jitsu is legit too.
Yeah. But in his podcast, he talks about why, like his discovery of Jiu-Jitsu and like the importance of grappling and a martial art for Navy SEALs, and like he really fell in love with it. And he makes many good points about why it's a good martial art to get into. Okay. So that opened up my eyes to jiu-jitsu because I never thought of Brazilian jiu-jitsu as something.
Did you know?
I didn't know of it really.
Okay.
So when Alex wanted to do a martial art, I had that in mind, and also said, okay, that's one option, but let's look at the other. So I went and saw some classes from different martial arts schools around the West Island here, and eventually I ended up at Fred in Sources on BTT, and I saw a class there too. And what I saw, the most interesting fact was that all the martial arts we're doing either training against air or against mats or punching bags, pads and stuff like that. Like that was all they could do with kids, right? So you had like warm up and then train against pads pretty much. At BTT with Jiu-Jitsu, they actually were training against each other and learning, let's say, real things, like really interacting with each other. Plus, what I liked at BTT in particular compared to anywhere else is the warm-up. Like, even from my perspective as a parent, even if they learn no jiu-jitsu, just the fact that they have half an hour of intense warm-up of learning to use their bodies against, in different ways, was a plus. So I said, okay, let's try this one first.
You came home with something else too, because then we chose BTT. BTT. We chose Jiu-Jitsu because of Jiu-Jitsu. It's like more self-defense and whatever. But he came home, why BTT West Island and the Sources, because there were two choices. and said, well, the sources with Fred is more familiar, like family thing.
Right, it's more family
Yeah,
oriented.
more
Right.
He's
family
interacting
friendly.
with kids different, like a parent, and he has 2 more kids, or 1, I don't remember how many. No, 2. He had 2
Yeah,
kids
2.
there, and 1 is in the class, and he's playing with them and stuff like that. We say, okay, we go to this one.
Yeah, because I went to Gracie Barra too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
So-
which is also a good school, and they have a kids program.
Yeah.
It's just everyone has their, you go into a place and you get a feeling, right? And it's based on your feeling. You're like, oh, well, I could relate to this. I like the fact that he's playing with his kid on the mat. So right away you are attracted to there.
Yeah.
Other schools, other jiu-jitsu schools in West Island, they all have good kids programs, but it comes down to your feeling, right? And the way
Yeah,
that
well, we like to interact with the kids too, so he can train us how to interact with our kids at home. although
Because
we
his
don't
own
do it.
kid, yeah.
So he's playing on the mat, I can play on the mat at home too. That's pretty much how it started, the whole thing.
Yeah, you mentioned an interesting point, which I've never thought of for years teaching kids also, but in other martial arts, kids are always training with pads.
Yeah.
They're training with
That's
pads, or they're
huge
training, example in karate, you're doing katas, or you're striking pads, or you're hitting the heavy bag, but it's rare that you're actually training. You're going full on with other kids. Jiu-jitsu, the kids are going 100% with other kids, and yet they're not banged up. They finish their class, are completely healthy, and there's no injuries or anything. It's interesting.
They build up relationships too, because when you're close to each other and you have to do something, you have to communicate to each other. In the other ones, you line up, you do stuff, and
Then you
do your
line
own
up,
stuff,
and then you
can
finish.
talk to the one next to you, but you're not forced to. Once in jiu-jitsu, you have to explain the person what to do, or it hurts, stop, or you're forced to really discuss with the person that you're training with.
Yeah.
And you're also forced to accept the person that you like or you don't like, maybe.
You just have to work it out.
You have to work it out and to understand that you can accept the person that you don't like for an hour, but next time maybe you find something that you really like in that person.
Yeah, the traditional martial arts are having issues with that. I think as things are modernizing, especially in karate, which was my background, was you stood in a straight line, you bow to your instructor, you start class, but there's no talking to the people around you. It's silent. The only voice you should hear is either your ki, which is like the scream that you do when you're doing certain techniques, or it's the voice of your instructor. Never do you, like when you're sparring, you're getting your pads on, you're talking with your teammates. But apart from that, it's just you're listening to your instructor, and that's it. At the end of class, you line up and you bow out. And then when class is done, if you want to stay after class and talk, you can talk. But during class, it's very... it's very solo, it's very strict, and it's like you're there for you type of thing. When jiu-jitsu, you're right, they have to communicate with each other. They have to explain things especially because there's so many kids in the class too. They have to figure it out.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been doing jiu-jitsu for now?
Well, she started 2 years ago, and we started a year later,
A year later.
pretty much.
So Alex, are you teaching your
Or-
parents jiu-jitsu?
Or 6 months later, something, I don't remember.
Sometimes I'm teaching them.
Because you have more experience than your parents.
Yeah.
You do.
It's like most of the time.
Once my mom wanted to show me a move, but then that she learned, and then like when she reached like around the middle of the move, I say, "Oh, it's that move. Fred already showed me that one."
Because you already knew what it was.
Yeah.
Nice. And plus, you compete a lot too, right? Yeah. How many times have you competed?
About 10
About 10
jiu-jitsu competitions,
jiu-jitsu competitions. Good.
not general competitions.
Right. And so how well do you do in jiu-jitsu I already know this answer because I see you at jiu-jitsu competitions all the time. But how well do you do in jiu-jitsu competitions?
Well, I do really well, but like I've won medals since my second competition. Every other competition after that, I won medals.
Okay. And what do you like about competing in jiu-jitsu? Like why a lot of kids just go to class, they do class and they go home and they never compete. So why do you choose to compete? Why what do you get out of it?
Well, I like the fact that I know more people and I know more styles like after that.
That's a good
and
point.
then also I don't know the person, so I don't know the style of the person. So
Because
then
at
after
school, you're always rolling with the same people, so
Yeah.
you get to know like their move and what they do, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
and you don't really know what they're gonna do, like takedown, pull guard, or what they know.
So you have to figure it out. Yeah. And what's your favorite move to do in competition?
I don't really have one.
No?
But,
You just do everything. Do you have a sweep that you like to do?
yeah.
What sweep is that?
The flower sweep.
Flower sweep. Good. Do you know what's really funny? Is that I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, and I just did the flower sweep for the first time yesterday.
Really?
Can you believe that? So many years of jiu-jitsu, and I just did the flower sweep yesterday.
She already knows more than you.
She already knows more than me. We should just give you a brown belt, and that's it. That's really cool. Awesome. And how many classes are you doing every week, Alex?
Well, me, I'm trying to go for 3 classes a week.
3 classes a week? What about Dan? How many classes does Dan do every week?
Well, he quit jujitsu quite a long time ago, so
So he might get back into it.
yeah.
It's like 6 months ago.
No.
He's sure of it.
Not anymore.
So Dan, you just needed a little break, right? You just wanted to take a little break?
Say it.
Yeah?
You want a break or what do you want?
Yeah, I think Dan just needed a little break.
Yeah.
Do you know what, Dan? My daughter, who's 11, how old are you, Dan?
6.
You're 6. So my daughter, who's 11, she's taking a break from jiu-jitsu. But it's been 2 years she took a break from jiu-jitsu. Why? Because she found that she loved to do swimming. She loves swimming. So now she does competitions in swimming, and she likes to do that more than jiu-jitsu. So now she's swimming, and she took a break from jiu-jitsu. It's been 2 years, though, and she might do it later on. But for now, she's just sticking with swimming. So it's okay that you take a break from jiu-jitsu, and then you get to think about, what do I want to do? Do I want to play hockey? Do I want to play soccer? Do I want to...
Well, what do you want then?
Yeah, do you know what you want to do?
What I want is free swimming and gymnastics and patinage.
Ooh.
Whoa, skating. That's cool.
Yeah.
He knows what he wants.
He knows what he wants.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what he's doing now is gymnastics and skating.
Okay, cool. That's really good. What about you guys? You guys have been doing jiu-jitsu for a year. You're both white belts in jiu-jitsu. How have you found your first year of jiu-jitsu? How are you guys finding things? Hard?
So after the kids were in, both of them, there was a special price for having a family.
Like a family package?
Package?
Yeah.
And Richard, that he brought the jiu-jitsu in our family. I said, why don't you start it? And
Well, actually, I wanted to do a sport because I didn't really do sports when I was young. And recently, a couple of years ago, I started to work out. Then at work, I started to do CrossFit because there was a group of people. And I said, well, I'd like to do more of a sport than just training. So I was looking around and I really don't like any sport in particular. And somebody said, well, your kids are doing jiu-jitsu. Why don't you do the same thing? Because at least you have a family thing, family sport.
I think
So,
that
okay.
was Fred actually was asking, why don't you?
And I said, okay, let's try it. So I started it, and then Fred, the instructor, said, well, you have 3 people doing it. You can get a family package, and all of you can do it. And then Gabriela started it too, and I think she likes it more than me.
Fred's sneaky that way, eh? He's like, well, why don't all of you do it? And maybe one of you can train for free.
You know those drug dealers that they try with the pill? Here's a free pill, but after that it's like, I want more.
Yeah, you want more. It's very... did you guys get addicted right away off of jiu-jitsu?
Me, not particularly.
Yeah, because I remember you weren't training in the beginning. You weren't training that much, but it was due to work too, right? Like you were trying to come at lunch and do
Yeah.
like an hour, and then you couldn't necessarily stay for the rolls because you had to go back to work. And
I'm still there.
Okay.
And this is my because the thing is, you have work, you have family time, and adding a big hobby like jiu-jitsu on top of that is difficult. But eventually I managed to work it into my schedule well enough. I feel that personally I'm not really athletic or athletically minded.
Okay.
You know, like anything that's athletic doesn't come naturally to me. So I find jiu-jitsu extremely difficult to learn. But it's interesting because it's a puzzle, and I like this kind of puzzle, and especially it's evidence-based martial arts. So I like that, the fact that it actually works, and it's obvious that it works. So I look at it as learning how to solve this interesting puzzle.
And what do you do for work?
I'm a software engineer.
Okay, so you're a very technical person,
Yeah.
Work-wise, which probably you could relate that to jiu-jitsu a little bit too, right? Like the technical aspect of it?
Yeah, and the idea of their moves and counter moves. So there's a whole part of strategy. The idea of you build a plan of you're here in this position, you have these moves to get to this other position, and once you're there, you have these moves to get to another position or to a submission. So it's in a way structured like that, and even for a competition, like I have a diagram of my plan.
Okay.
Of what how
He's crazy.
of like, okay, so this is my plan, like my flow through
He came one day with a whole sheet. You know how the when you go to learn programming and
Right.
they learn you the boxes that goes yes, no, and then you
Right,
go right,
right.
left. This is what he did in jiu-jitsu thing, and I was like, you're nuts. First of all, cut it in half to be more simple. But it's interesting how he can see jiu-jitsu from that point of
From a
view.
different way.
And
yeah.
I see him becoming a monster. Now he is very like low level and everybody is smashing him in whatever.
Yeah.
But when he gets to your brown belt, if he keeps doing it, he will become a monster because he will have the skills how to use his mind.
He's going to break everything down.
Because nobody thinks like him.
Yeah.
He's nuts.
Yeah.
He gets all the possibility what you can do against one move. That's in his mind. And he already, he knows that theoretically. And then some of them, he starts to see them.
Yeah.
And he starts to do them. And once he knows how to make them all this together, I see a monster coming.
So his mindset, how I could kind of put that together with what you're doing in jiu-jitsu, is that the mindset you have is exactly what higher belts naturally get on their own. So later on, once you learn more techniques and you gain more, it's not learning more techniques. Once you just gain more experience, once you gain more experience, you will naturally puzzle all those pieces together, right? So I go for a triangle and it fails. I could fall into this. I could fall into that. You're currently doing that on paper. What will happen is later on, as a higher belt, you're going to realize that all those things are just going to come to you. It's going to come naturally as you keep learning different sequences and different techniques, and you just gain more experience in your roles. What's cool is that you're looking at it that way now, and so it might come easier to you later on when a lot of people don't go through that step, and it naturally will come to them, but it'll come to them later. So the fact that you're trying to chain things together is a good thing, right? Because that's what you're going to end up doing naturally later on anyways. But you have a way different approach. When I talk about both of you, I always say Gabriela and her husband, because I never remember your name, but like their jiu-jitsu is completely different. The way that you guys approach jiu-jitsu is completely different, right?
No, mine is another style.
Yeah.
I started with one class a week when was the women class, and at one point it stopped, and it was a good thing because it opened the door to other classes for me, so I didn't have to stick to that class. It's very hard when you start the whole family to do jiu-jitsu because it takes time, and at the same time it cuts from the family time. So you have to make sure how you make a schedule, so you make rotations, so the kids, they don't feel as much that they're cut.
It's about you and not about them anymore. Yeah.
But at the same time, they have to understand that you need something for yourself too. So it was kind of hard for a mom to really get out of the family, and especially when you have a bongo man next to you, and that wants a lot of mommy attention.
Yeah.
But I explained to him, is like, you like to, I don't know, eat candies. I like to do jiu-jitsu. So I need time to go to jiu-jitsu there. I can't do it at home.
Yeah.
I can play with you at home. Yeah, it's fine. But to get better, I need to go to class.
Yeah.
And the more you go, the faster you learn. With one class a week was very hard because with the time I was coming back, I was forgetting what I was doing. I was like, Then it was hard to come, and I was coming here and there when I could find time. Like the kids were into bed fast. It's like, okay, I can go jiu-jitsu, or daddy was really in a good mood. I stayed with the kids and stuff like that. And then like soon, like now, we start to be more strict in our schedule with our little one because he likes strict stuff. So I said, okay, if this is strict and we have to make a plan, then let's put in the plan my jiu-jitsu too. So everybody will know from the beginning that everybody has to do jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Well, whoever wants to do it,
Right.
he quit. So it's like, you don't want to do it, it's fine, but I want to do it. So I had to put jiu-jitsu in my plan, and I fixed my problem with going jiu-jitsu. So once I did that, then I start finally to really learn jiu-jitsu. And my way of doing jiu-jitsu, I like sparring a lot. I don't know how to learn the moves. It's different way of teaching the moves, by the way, from classes to classes, from person to person. And it was so weird for me because you cannot get all the details from the beginning, obviously. Not everybody was telling you all the details because it's useless.
Yeah, because you'll just forget them anyways. Right.
But still, it was interesting because I was getting some from somebody, I was getting some from the other ones. And when you go to the sparring, you see what's working for you.
Yeah.
And then I discovered the moves that I really like. And then I went back to the class and it's like, I want this move. Please give me all the details. Of course, I wouldn't keep all of them in my mind, but at least I would add one at each class. I add something else so I can add to my sparring. And then when I was having difficulty with one or another, because when you go sparring, you pretty much go with the same people. It's like, okay, I want to pass the legs of that guy. I can never pass the legs of this guy. And I'm just keep trying until I find a move to pass the leg of that guy. And it's like, oh, yes. But it takes a long time.
Takes time to do, right?
But it's like a winning, yes.
Yeah.
Then I'm always mounted. What do I do that I'm always mounted? And Mark is saying, well, you're always giving this. It's like, you're always moving this way. And you didn't put the hand where it's supposed to. It's like, but I did. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
And the first thing you have to accept is that you have to, it's like, you have to pass your ego, and they really have to understand that you're always learning. You cannot just...
You can't rush the process.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You have to take your time to learn it. You have to hit the wall 5 times until you get it, or somebody hits the wall just 2 times like Alex, and sometimes they hit the wall 50 times, but it's okay, we get there.
Yeah. I think as a white belt, again, if I look back at it, as a white belt, it was just a giant blur. I had no idea what I was doing at any point, at any time. It was just people were throwing information at me, and I was just trying to like grab everything. I wish I had like 10 more hands and just keep grabbing information. And then at blue, there was like a few things that started clicking. You know, like a sweep that I realized, okay, it was good for me. It worked well. A submission that I kept doing all the time. A pass that I was able to relate to. At blue belt, I was able to cling on to a few things. And then at purple, I was able to take those few things that I did really well and then start branching out like you kind of do when you write things down. So the scissor sweep would kind of lead me to the mount, which then I was able to link an arm bar to. So at purple, I was starting to be able to chain things together, and things were really able to work. And then once I got the brown, which is recent, I'm now back at the white belt stuff. I'm relearning white belt stuff all over again. When I've said it before in other podcasts, I thought I'd get the brown belt, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I'm going to start like doing all these crazy new things that like I never thought I would do. And like my mind is just going to be blown every time I go to a class, and I find myself like relearning the Kimura and like cleaning up my triangle based on, you know, white belt stuff, just fundamentals. So it's funny how things kind of are full circle in jiu-jitsu, but that I've seen the evolution kind of along the way, which is much different. So, you know, as a white belt, you guys think that is just so much information, but everyone has different ways of learning too. And you guys are the perfect example, right? As a couple, you know, you guys know each other so well, but you guys have different ways of
Very-
learning, right?
It's so different. Whatever I know, he doesn't know, and the opposite. Whatever he knows, I don't know. So for
Yeah,
now, I
I'm-
have, for example, the koala sweep, and when I Google it to see what to do, it's always coming from his move that he knows the what is
De la Riva.
De la Riva. So everything is like connected. It's like you have to teach me your De la Riva, and I have to teach me my koala, and everything goes together. But he's not that style, so it's
Yeah.
like so weird.
And you figure that stuff out later on. I think the one thing that I try to tell my students all the time is that, especially students with a lot of experience, don't be like just that one trick pony in jiu-jitsu. Don't be known as the guy that is like the Kimura guy, or don't be the girl that is the triangle girl. Like, don't learn everything and try to do everything. Really, like you not now, but you'll get to a point where you want to be able to know and land a omoplata. You want to be able to land a good triangle. You want to do a nice Kimura. And a good example of that, which made me feel good, which I have to give a shout out to my co-host Brian, who couldn't make it today, but I rolled with him last Thursday. And after rolling with him, he's like, man, like your jiu-jitsu has really changed. He's like, you landed a triangle on me, you did a Kimura, you did an omoplata, you swept me, you did all these different things, when before you were always doing the same sweep and the same submissions, and I kind of knew where you were going. And now you're doing you're landing all these different things. Like, what changed? And I told him it's because now everything has come together, and I realized that I have all these tools, and I kept always pulling out the same tool. So people always knew that I was always pulling out a wrench. They expected it, so they knew how to counter me pulling out that wrench. But now I'm pulling out a Phillips screwdriver, a flathead, a wrench, and I'm pulling out all these different tools. And now they have a hard time managing it because I'm pulling out all these different tools. But in the beginning, you have no choice but to stick with what you know and perfect those few moves that you know how to do really well. And it's like the competitors, which you guys are competing for the first time this weekend, which I want to talk about. And I have some competitors, some of my students that are going and competing for the first time. So how are you guys approaching competition for the first time? It's funny, the two parents are staring at their kids because I put a giant bucket of candy. It's 10 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday, and I put a giant bucket of candy on the table, and they keep eating them, and the parents are getting a little distracted because they're staring at the kids.
Right.
How are you guys approaching competing? How are you what made you sign up in the first place? Was it the fact that Alex is competing a lot,
Well,
or
for
It's
me
Mark's
was
fault.
for me it's peer pressure because they two signed first, and then they
Okay.
said, hey, let's make it a family event, and they
Okay.
roped me into it. But my approach is the plan that I told about before, because that's why I made it. It said, okay, if you're competing, you need to know what you're going for in the sparring, like in competition. You need to have a plan. That's what Fred said, and I thought about it, and I said, okay, what are the items that I'm comfortable with? So, for example, for me is being on top of the half guard
Don't say it now.
oh, it's fine.
and passing it. So being on top of a half guard is comfortable for me,
Okay.
and trying to pass that and go to side control. Like, that's for me, that's a win if I manage to do that.
So I have a question for you. How are you going to get there in the first place?
Osotogari, or let the other person pull guard on me. So
So you'll then get up and pass guard.
no, I won't get into his guard. Like I've
okay.
trained on
big dreams.
when the other person pulls guard, this
Okay.
is what I need to do to not fall into a full guard,
Okay.
to fight there.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
Right? Maybe I'll pull guard. Maybe. If nothing else works, I'll end up there.
Okay.
But my plan is either I try to osotogari, or I let the other person try to pull guard and fail.
Okay.
Well, partially fail, right? Like
Right.
manage to pull a half guard. Good. Then I'm in top half. That's my plan.
Okay.
And from there, okay, if something else, because there's a big cloud of other things. If other things happen, if I'm in open guard, I'll go de la Riva, and from there I'll try to get a sweep to get back to top half guard. And again, once I'm in top half guard, pass the top half guard, get to side control, get to mount, or try to get an armbar or kimura from there.
If not, stall out on top side control
stay
and just
there.
wait it out.
Absolutely. Exactly.
That's my theory, and it has been because my jiu-jitsu is lazy, that in competition, if I'm up on points and I'm on top and I am comfy, I am not going anywhere. You can try to do your best to leave that position, but it's not going to happen. I'm staying where I am, and I'm just going to stare at the clock and wait. It's a sport, right? You have to have a strategy. It's sport jiu-jitsu. That's the nature of the game. It's funny because one of the girls that's competing this weekend, she's competing at intermediate, one of my students, her name's Jessie, and she hates it every time I mention people from the school, like they listen to the podcast, they're like, you're talking about us again. But I'm calling her out because it was funny when I was training them to kind of get prepared like you did and come up with a game plan. I was like, so if you're up on points and you're in top half, then, you know, just stall it out. As in, there's a minute left. You obviously don't want to get swept and get submitted or lose on points or whatever. So just know if there's a minute left and you're in a good position, I wouldn't sacrifice position and to lose the match. And she's like, yeah, but like I don't want to do that. I just want to go for the submission. Like, I just want to win. She's like, I find it really cheesy that, you know, like I'm up on points and then I'm just going to stall out. Like, isn't that bad jiu-jitsu? And I was trying to figure out how to explain to her that it's a sport. You know, you're going to compete and go for the submission. I'm all for going for the submission all the time. But if there's a minute left and you're in a good position, you see a submission, you'll have different opinions there. Do you go for it, or do you just stay where you are and just let the clock run out, because you know that way you're gonna win? We have to remember that it's a sport also, right? And there are strategies.
How good you are too at it.
If you're that confident,
in
right?
your sparring, you always get that thing 99%. And you kind of feel the person on the bottom, how strong it is. So if you're like really on top of the things,
you'll know.
You'll know. It's like Alex at one point, she had 32-0. Obviously, she could do a submission to that person.
She's a show off.
At one point, Fred was wanting to tell her to stop, but anyway, just let her go. But if it's such a huge difference of the jiu-jitsu level, then go for it. But if it's close like that, no, just stay installed.
One way to look at it is that a submission is still point. You can think of submission as 1 million points
as the winning point.
Yeah. So if you win by 1 point or by 1 million points,
but you're risking.
Your goal is to win, right? So it doesn't matter if you win by 1 or 1 million points.
Either way,
the important thing is not to lose.
Right.
So if you're 2 points up and you want to risk to get 1 million, but also lose 4.
Right.
You're putting your win on the line. So that's one way to look at it.
And so why did you sign up to compete, Gabriela? I'm curious.
Because
how old are you, Gabriela?
I like challenges.
I know I'm not supposed to ask women their age, but I'm curious how old you are.
I'm 40.
You're 40, okay.
The big 40. I have to wait 40 years to go in a sport competition. I never been to a sport competition until now.
Were you a sporty person as a kid or growing up?
I'm a very active person. I always run here and there, and I'm really like going, but I never ever did a sport because I never had the chance. Nobody offered me to do that.
Okay.
Actually, I did start when I was on my own, and I was in university, and I started to do karate, and we did for 6 months, I think, but I didn't like it.
Okay.
And I did for 2 months, I think I did judo. I didn't like it because they were just about falling and falling and falling and falling and falling.
It's a lot of falling.
Like, no, that's not for me.
Yeah.
So that was my whole career of sports.
Okay.
Nobody teach me how to skate. Nobody teach me how to swim. Nobody teach me how to ski, how to do snowboard, how to, like, everybody knows everything here now.
Yeah.
And I came here and everybody goes to the gym and everybody does something. Mm-hmm. And the kids starts to do sports too. And I understand why, because here people, they stay in the car a lot. And they go to do their school or work, and then they go to car. They never walk. Mm-hmm. Us being in a city, you don't get the car. You get the car to go to work and back, but the shopping and the going outside and whatever you do by walking. Mm-hmm. So you walk more. It's pretty much you don't quite need to go to the gym pretty much. If you have a healthy lifestyle, it's okay. So when we came here, like we start to to see that we're gaining weight and stuff. So it's like, okay, we need to do something to get more active. I got a very good job where I was walking all the time, so I was pretty much okay there.
You're a accountant, right? Are you an accountant?
I was in a dairy lab and I was technician, and I had to walk on the line from one top to another. Now I changed my job in the same company. I'm a quality specialist.
Okay.
So now I'm not walking as much, but I do jiu-jitsu.
So one compensates for the other, right?
And jiu-jitsu, another thing that I really liked is that it uses all your muscles or your bones, including your brain. That's a muscle too, right? Mm-hmm. So it's all included. You don't have to go to the gym to do your muscles. You don't have to run outside to do your cardio. You don't have to, it's everything included. Mm-hmm. That sparring, 10 minutes of sparring, it's pretty much an hour of going to the gym. It's so effective. It's so, I like it. Yes, why not?
Are you nervous for your first competition this weekend?
Of course I am.
Yeah, you're nervous, yeah.
I'm kind of freaking out, but
yeah.
But I will go there. What can happen? I will never die, so that's okay. I will still breathe. So that's my thing.
And if you think about it, Alex is doing it all the time. And she's just a child, and she's able to manage her emotions. She's able to manage rolling with people kids that she doesn't know. If she can do it, why can't a full? I mean, we know the concept. I guess we think too much, right? And kids don't have that thought process yet. So we're overanalyzing every situation and everything that could happen. When maybe as a kid, it's just no. You're going to grapple with these kids that you've never met, so maybe it's a little easier. Do you get stressed out, Alex, at all when you compete? Well, not anymore, right?
Not anymore, but right now I find that there are like too little competitions.
Yeah, there's not many here, right? Oh. That's because it's illegal here in Quebec, so we have to travel to go do jiu-jitsu a little bit, right?
Yeah, and I want to have more competitions.
Because you want to do more?
Yeah.
Well, actually, she wants competition because it's a challenge. You know, you train and you see how you did in competitions. That's why actually we all go to competition, so we learn what we need to face a competition. If you just go because you learn by pleasure, you're going to learn but slower. But when you go to a competition, you learn it way faster, or at least you're motivated to go for more, and you're motivated to listen better, you're motivated to execute better, just especially for kids. And the kids also, they're exposed more like drills, and the drills are helping too because it's building you the reflex. It's like when they go to competition, they already know they are mounted, what they have to do. They don't even have to listen to the coach. They already know they have to push the legs, they have to bump, and in the first seconds, not they have to listen. It's like, oh, I'm mounting, what do I do? And the coach, push the leg. No, they already react like right away. Half guard, what do they have to do? Underhook, right away. Put the head, whatever. They're already like machines because they have those drills before the competition, and it's so helping. And that's what she likes actually, is to be in that adrenaline. She likes adrenaline. If she's too slow, it's like, it's boring, mommy.
So you like that fast-paced, right?
And I like that too. So I'm like kind of, give me a challenge and I wish to it. Then give me another challenge and I wish to it. If you just let me go and find it by myself, it's boring. It's like, oh. So that's competition, is giving you a challenge. So for me, the challenge is like, I need to go to competition. I need to know the 2 pages. Then I said, no, it's too much. Okay, then I need to know something so I can sweep a person, so I can
pass a guard,
so I can, and everything, like Mark says, goes to the funnel. Whatever you go to that, you pass. Whatever you go to that submission, if you want a submission, but that's too far away from me. It's, yes, I get there sometimes, but that's because I'm lucky, or because boys are letting me, or because maybe I do it right, I don't know. But
well, it's like when you and I roll. You know, you
let me go there.
So no, but okay. so I'll give you a little bit of wiggle room, and to see if you're giving me the right reactions. So if your intentions are good, so if I don't go for the underhook, so I'll purposely not go for the underhook, but then you'll grab it. So in my head, I'm like, her intentions are good. She knows that if I don't get the underhook, that you have to take it. I'll open my legs a little bit so you can knee cut me, right? So you'll pass my guard. But how will you knee cut? So I open up just enough to see if you're giving me the right reactions to know that, okay, now's the time to knee cut, and you'll do that. And I do the same thing for submissions. It serves no purpose for any higher belt to constantly smash white belts, because I'm not teaching you anything, right? And I want you to grow. So yes, you need those hard rolls from time to time. You need me to every now and then roll with you and submit you maybe 4 or 5 times, because you need to learn how to get out of those submissions eventually also. But it serves no purpose for higher belts to constantly smash white belts, because I want to know that you're learning something too. So I'll give you little opportunities, and I'll give you the opportunity to take those positions. But if you don't do it, then we know at the end of the roll what you need to work on. She wants some chocolate milk. I don't blame you. I want chocolate milk too. That's actually one thing that I don't eat a lot of is chocolate. I've never been a really big chocolate guy, but do you know what I used to be? I used to be a big candy guy. I would finish that container in like 5 minutes.
Oh, don't tell me. Don't tell them.
I would eat all of them. I put everything in my mouth, and afterwards, do you know what would happen? I would cry. I go, Mommy, I have a stomach ache. I don't know why my tummy hurts. And then I wouldn't feel good, and I would sit on the couch all day because my tummy would hurt. But I used to eat a lot of candy as a kid, but it was bad for me. Don't eat a lot of candy. Don't eat a lot of candy.
Well,
she took away the candy. What were you going to say?
Well, I do now a lot of sports.
You do a lot of sports?
Yeah,
Really?
because like I only do 2 sports, but they cover like the whole week.
So what other sport do you do?
Swimming.
You swim?
Yeah.
I didn't know you swam.
Competition.
Really? You should swim with my daughter sometime then. That's really cool.
That's why I was so surprised when you said that she's swimming. And
Oh,
she
yes.
quit Jiu Jitsu because she got swimming just because she doesn't have enough competitions.
So it gives you a chance to compete. That's cool.
I think not this week, but I think next week after that, I think I have a swimming competition on Sunday.
But this week you have Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah,
Okay, that's cool. So what's your favorite stroke?
butterfly.
Butterfly? That's a hard stroke to do too.
Not really.
You don't find?
No.
That's really her faster stroke. It's really,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Somebody is doing like front call. She comes with a butterfly like.
That's really cool. So you're competing in swimming now too, because there's not a lot of competitions here. That's sad, eh?
Yeah,
It
I'm
is,
surprised it's still like that. I was thinking that they can put a bit of pressure to change the law.
It's a big legal thing, to change the article in the law is a big thing. Like it's a lot of hours.
But is it really the article or is just the interpretation of it?
I think it's both. I think they're so the way it's written isn't written properly. So I think it needs to change because they're interpreting it in a specific way. But we don't have in Quebec. We don't have an association that's managing jiu-jitsu, that oversees jiu-jitsu. Judo has it. Karate has a few different organizations. So each martial art has their own governing body. But here in Quebec, we don't have one for jiu-jitsu. So they're trying to figure that out now. But it takes time, unfortunately, and everyone's doing it at their own pace, at their own time. Like no one's paying anyone to figure this out. There's a group of black belts that are getting together that are trying to work through it. I think they have some lawyers they're just like donating their time to kind of help out to put things proper, I guess, here in Quebec, but they don't I don't think we're paying anyone to kind of fix this. And you try to get answers, and I send a few messages out because I want to update people and for myself to know where we're at, and it's really hard to get answers also, or maybe I wasn't talking to the right people. Fred had referred me to somebody who was kind of taking charge and kind of managing the situation. Even at that, they told me, no, we're still a while away. But that was the only answer that I got. You know what I mean? So why are we a while away? What's blocking? Is it because we're waiting for an answer from somebody? Is it because maybe we're not paying a lawyer? Should we maybe do a fundraiser to actually pay a high-level lawyer and have them move the ball a little quicker? I don't know. I don't have the answers.
That's very sad, because if we just don't know and just ignore and go through this, they're killing the kids, because she is doing 8 trainings in a 7-week day because she wants more competition. It was so much easier. It was just jiu-jitsu because she goes 3 times a week, not 8 times a week to do both sports. And she doesn't want to quit jiu-jitsu. If she has to quit something tomorrow, what are you going to quit? Jiu-jitsu or swimming?
Swimming.
See? So she likes jiu-jitsu so much. It's just...
And it's pretty popular. I mean, my impression is that there are a lot of schools here in Quebec and that doing jiu-jitsu. So I'm really surprised that there's no like organization between the schools, because that's what you need,
That's
right?
what you need.
The schools to come together, say, okay, let's form a, let's say, not governing body, but like association.
An association.
A jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
association of Quebec, and say, okay, we want to push for the changing either the law or the interpretation of the law to not include jiu-jitsu. Because again, judo or wrestling, right, they're fine and they're pretty similar. So why
not?
Yeah.
There was talks of going underneath the judo association to put jiu-jitsu under their association and to kind of work with them. I don't know where that's at, but
It's fine just to get it forward.
who just move it, right? But there's also two sides to that, right? You'll have some people also that will say, everyone's complaining that there's no tournaments. And I have to be honest with you, most of the people that are complaining, that are shouting that there are no tournaments, are people that don't even compete at all. So yes, it's not bad because they're expressing themselves and they're fighting for what other people want, what the competitors want. But if you take a look at our school or other schools, I mean, 95% of our students don't ever compete.
But it's too far.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
Right?
too far. Not everybody wants to go and drive 2 hours for competition.
But even beforehand, when jiu-jitsu was legal here, 95% of students in a jiu-jitsu school will not compete. They like going to class, they like the camaraderie, they like to get a workout, they like to talk after class, they like the social aspect, but they're not competitive in nature, and that's 95% of students.
Yeah, but they also like when they have competitors in the class, because this is how they learn the new
And it
things.
ups their game. Yes, I completely agree. I
Even
completely
if I don't
agree.
want to go, I want to
People
fight with
to go.
Brianna, that she's a crazy
She's a world
lady.
champion.
I mean, really.
Yeah. Multiple
Who
time
doesn't
world
want
champion.
to have a champion in you? You learn so much from it.
Yeah. So I think maybe it's just a lack of the right people trying to push the ball. I mean, I think again, I'm just assuming. I don't know, but Brian and I are working on getting more information on this because
And seriously,
we want to do something.
There's something about money. If you go person by person to really tell them, if you give $5, it helps a lot, and you get this and this. I don't think there is a parent in that gym that will never give just $5 for it.
I know a guy.
And
I know a guy who's willing to donate a lot of money to this cause.
that's even better. See,
Who has the money, and who's flat out told me, figure out what's going on. I have the money. I have some money to donate.
so you have a problem solved. Just see where to put
It's
it.
just, who do I talk to know what the problem is and where we're stuck? That's where we're at now. Is where are we? Like, why isn't the ball moving? But I think I just need to ask more questions to more people and eventually figure it out.
We're in.
Yeah, you guys are in for sure. So you guys have your first competition on the week. Alex, are you competing this weekend too?
Yes.
That is awesome. So you guys are competing this weekend. Everyone's ready. Everyone's nervous. And no, Alex
Not
isn't
really.
nervous.
I'm not.
She's
you're not?
dancing before going to the competition. So she's just
happy.
waiting. She's like, na 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 na.
Nice.
That's her attitude before going on the.
That's
And
good.
the other
On the
girls
mat.
is like, oh my god, I'm going to spar Alex again.
I think that's intimidating for the other kids,
Oh my
Alex.
God.
When you're standing next to the desk and you're serious and you're ready to go, and the other kid is looking at you and you're like, she's not nervous. Like, she's not like, she's like ready to get on the mat. I think that's intimidating for other kids. And I think that's a good thing. I think the other kids learn from you. You know what I mean? They learn that, wow, if she's that confident and she's ready to go, then maybe I should, work on my confidence too. I think that helps the other kids. Right? You agree?
Yeah.
Kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So I'm going to wish you guys luck at your competition. I'm sure you guys are going to do super well. I'm really glad you guys came in and we got to talk a little bit about your background and how you guys are doing in jiu-jitsu. So what I'd like to do is do a follow-up podcast with you guys to know how the competition went. So maybe we could talk a little bit down the road, maybe in a month's time or this and that, and we can sit down after you guys ponder everything that happened during the competition, all the good things and the bad things, and recover. And we could talk about it again and go through that.
Recover is the competition. After that is good.
Yeah, you guys are back to training and everything starts back. So I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in. Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan, thanks for all the talking.
Dan, say thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you for all the candies.
Hope you don't get a tummy ache.
You've been listening to Let's Talk Jiu Jitsu with Raymond Terrence. Go follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page. Turn on notifications and press that like button. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the mat.